So I have my eraser, I have my Vine charcoal, and the thing I mean about general to specific is this idea that we don't get hung up kind of like drawing, you know, all the little details and then placing them all over, right? So for one, just spatially, like it's hard to, you know, get everything right the first time around. And so if we dedicate a lot of, you know, mojo to this, we're going to be a lot less likely to want to change it if this other object is in the wrong place. When it comes to drawing with value, specifically, it's nice to work general to specific because value is so contextual, right? It's so relational, meaning one value like a medium gray against a dark value will look different than that same medium gray against, you know, a lighter value in a different area of the drawing. So kind of setting these big areas of value early, general to specific, is a nice way to do it. So in general, I'm going to use a little bit of my kind of knowledge of angle finding and measuring to just come in and start to really like set the space of the drawing. So we got our objects on the table, something like this. It's not perfect, but I have the wall, right? And I know when I'm looking that this wall is kind of all of a middle value, right? This left-hand wall over here is actually a little bit darker than the tabletop, which is where most of the light is right here. So you can already see just in like literally less than a minute, I already have a sense of the space knocked out through a little bit of line work and a little bit of value work. So the other part now is, you know, I'm going to look at these relationships, right? Like our level lines and our plumb lines and the negative space, like how much table is here and how much does that little cup overlap, right? I'm not going to get too specific about the shape of it yet because I want to make sure I'm watching that bucket overlaps there and is about 1.5 times this height. So it's going to go up to about there-ish, right? So I'm just knocking in the forms and I'm looking at the relationship here from the bottom of this to how high up to find where that bucket is, okay? I'm going to go a little bit taller with it. And then that bucket is a little darker here and a little lighter on that side. And I might come in and just really quickly massage out these background marks so that now see that bucket, even though it's not very volumetric yet, is knocked forward in space. And I could do the same thing here. Very quickly, just setting things in the space and building that sense of volume and space. That's my whole goal. It's my whole goal right now, right? So here's my weird piece of paper that has the folds in it. And again, I'm just kind of like setting it in space, kind of looking at the negative space here and realizing that that actually comes down and overlaps the bucket a little bit. And again, I can come in right now. Oh, good. That's in front of that. That is behind that. Both of these are in front of the wall. This is more forward in space than this. And now I'm looking at my last one, right, for this container here, which is actually closer to the edge of the paper, and it's going to come up. And it's not that dark. Okay, very general, right? Very general, just knocking things in. I'm looking at the relationship here to the spatula coming up, looking that I can see some of the bucket behind it and that it overlaps, and kind of checking its perspective a little bit. Just knocking everything in. There's the spoon, that's going to roll forward. And as I go, taking each one of these things and then manipulating that charcoal so that it is physically in front of the other object, right? Physically in front of the other object. Okay? General to specific. Like I could quit now and call this a study, right? Maybe I'm making a painting of this. Just this little like couple-minute exercises really helped me understand where things sit in space, how they're oriented, how much space is between them front to back, where the foreground, middle ground, and background is. And it's all a matter of getting them in there. From here on out, what I'll start to do is think about, right, the negative spaces between things, and I'll look and say, is that right? No, it's a little higher. And my decision-making process is about, is it because I need to push the edge of this bucket further that way to do that? Or do I need to push the edge of the paper that way to close down that negative space, right? So we find what's not working and we ask ourselves, which is the correct move, moving that edge that way, that edge that way. And we do that, right, by erasing in, or depending, adding value, right? I can make this bucket wider by adding value on the dark side. I can make the cup wider here. If this was a little dirty, I could make the cup wider there or change its contour, its edge, by just erasing in. And starting, I hope that's coming across on camera, starting to get really subtle about the way those values work, right? So general to specific, back and forth, pushing, pulling edges. That's the idea.